Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the BSR MX5 Trophy for round 3 here at Donington Park. It may just say round Donington, apologies, in that little subtitle, but it is round 3. I promise you, I will update that information in a couple of minutes' time. We've got 14 drivers to take on the brilliant Donington Park GP, and I've got myself and my usual co-commentator in the comms box with me. Ed, how the devil are you?
I'm doing great, yes. Thank you very much, Jack, and looking forward to this one, the Donington Park GP layout, not the National, so we've got a fair few more places for drivers to overtake into that final sector, that tight hairpin, and then, of course, the second left-hander, the final one to round out the lap. There'll be plenty of room for drivers to maybe make some opportunistic dives up the inside. And where we've been watching BSR for a good few years now, Jack, commentating on them, we know how much they love their dives.
Absolutely, yeah. We're on the outside, up the inside, doesn't really matter. Over the top if they could help it. But yes, lots of opportunities. And I think obviously the Melbourne loop is going to be the big addition, isn't it? But you've still got the classic Donington corners into Redgate, around the outside of McLean's, and even into Old Hairpin as well, after Craner Curve. So plenty of excitement ready for you. It's personally one of my favourite circuits anywhere, anytime in the world. I love it at Donington Park GP. It always helps if you're quite quick and you've had success there in the past, but absolutely love driving it in real life, in the sim, doesn't matter. I'm excited to be here now because it's not. We haven't got many British-based tracks on this calendar, to be honest, Ed. It's nice to have a few sprinkling of a few gems in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Donington Park is wonderful. The elevation change, it's one of my favourite circuits. This and Cadwell Park, I think, for me, as a driver, as someone who just loves racing around and hot lapping, those tracks are right up there because it's always a challenge. You've always got to be on the very edge. And if you make one small mistake here, I mean, the track isn't necessarily that wide in certain areas. You can just hemorrhage a lot of time and maybe even find yourself in a wall.
Yeah, which is never ideal. I found myself in far too many walls around this place, actually, in real life. It was hurt quite a lot, to be honest. I ended up in the pit lane wall. That one was particularly painful. The only other British-based track that we've actually got in this calendar at all is the last race of the season at Knock Hill, which is an extremely good track for these little MX5 cars. So that one will be one to tune in for as well. I believe that should be on the 29th of November. So, yeah, get that one in the diaries, even if it is in a couple of weeks' time. Or a couple of months' time, almost, really, isn't it? The majority of our tracks are actually over the other side of the pond. We've got Virginia International Raceway, Canadian Tire Motorsport, Mid-Ohio, Sonoma, and then we're back in Europe for Zandvoort. Then we're back over the pond to Road America. So, yeah, plenty of American tracks, but this is based off of the iRacing MX5 calendar. So, clearly iRacing favouring the American tracks a little bit more this time round. But we are going into qualifying, and we see there's no Andy McEwen, but there is not a newcomer, but a driver that certainly impressed us, which is, of course, Max Edmondson.
Yeah, he obviously got his first race victory in his, I believe it was his second race of the evening last time out in his debut race meeting during round number 2. An excellent drive from him, and exciting to see what more we can see. Wasn't necessarily the quickest in qualifying over one lap, but he said it himself. He's just trying to get to grips with the car. We've seen him before on the VRRC leagues and on the Assetto Corsa service, so we'll see how well he does in the iRacing sim and making that transition over, because he's impressed so far, but we know he can go from strength to strength, and that's something we're very excited to see. But another driver I'm excited to see just build on his impressive performances in the early phase of this season is Juanji Lin, the driver here for 5-Star Motorsports, one of the new additions to pair, or rather join a trio of Luke Cooper and Lars Fischer. It's not Luke Cooper, sorry, it's Jason Cooper that he's joining up with. Got my Coopers confused, but it's still great to see them adding another driver into the mix. And I mean, he was great, wasn't he, at the Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, but maybe not so much around Suzuka. So we're going to see if he can pick himself back up and carry on that form that we saw in that first race of the season.
Yeah, no, he's certainly going to be one to keep an eye out on. I can tell you that although we don't have any graphics at the moment for the championship, it's a 5-star lockout on the top 3 positions. Jason Cooper, Lars Fischer and Juanji Lin in that order. So at some point, Ed, we've seen them quite a lot sort of almost hot lapping behind each other, which is what we're seeing similar now, obviously in qualifying. You come to expect it in qualifying. But in the races, you see that Lars Fischer is hunkered up behind Jason Cooper for first and second, and they're going to be like that for 15 minutes, about 0.3 of a second behind each other. And you're not expecting them to ever make a move, but at some point, you've got to think this is an individual championship. They've actually got to start fighting with each other. When does that day come?
Today.
Hopefully.
I think it's got to be sooner rather than later. If you are, say, Juanji Lin, or if you are Lars Fischer, you can't afford to keep playing second fiddle to Jason Cooper. You've got to try and throw moves on him and, not get out of the way for him. Obviously, he's going to be quicker than you, but over the course of the season, you need to rely on your consistency and your ability to race with him and keep him behind in certain situations. You can, and if you have to, defend for around about 5 or so laps to round out a race, and that 5-point difference between first and second could be enough to see a championship decided. I mean, that's what we saw last season. Andy McEwen beating Jason Cooper by the slimmest of margins, 5 points. Every single race counts here.
Yeah, this isn't part of the plan, though, if you are teammates. I think it's the 151, not potentially Jason Cooper, hitting into the back of Juanji Lin. And, well, that's one way to aggravate your teammate. And maybe Juanji will be thinking, I'm going to remember that going into the race. This is, of course, just qualifying, but Jason Cooper clearly thinking that his teammate not quite going fast enough there for his liking, and puts him off the road. And, yeah, as I said, maybe that will cause the friction that we're looking for to try and sort of ignite a little bit of a battle between the 5-star teammates.
Oh, I can just imagine the bumpers banging down into Old Hairpin on the first lap now between the pair of them. You can just picture it, can't you? There's a little bit of a fire that might start brewing. We will see how long they will continue to play happy families in 5-star, because as you get deeper and deeper into a championship season, the gloves do start to come off. We've seen it in Formula 1 all the time, haven't we, with teammates that you think are the best of friends. I mean, Lewis Hamilton, Nico Rosberg, they were best buddies coming up through karting, working together, and then as soon as they get into a top team, it only took them actually till the second round before the sparks started flying and they were fighting for a championship. And well, of course, the rest is history. That gave us one of the greatest, I think, sort of battles between teammates, at least in recent memory. And hopefully we'll see a good battle between teammates here in the BSR, because we know how quick Jason Cooper is, but Lars Fischer has been building season on season, and Juanji Lin is certainly a promising talent.
He is indeed. Kyle Felvis has jumped into the YouTube chat. Hello, Kyle. I'm amazed to... well, I'm not amazed. I'm slightly surprised to know that you even follow the channel, to be honest. But it's nice to see you down, of course. Part of the VRRC, just like Max Edmondson was. You're a fan. I know Kyle is a fan of Mazdas as well. He's one of the drivers in for the running in the VRRC Mazda Championship that I cover on a Wednesday night at the moment. Well, Kyle, if you want Tuesday night action as well, we're not saying go away from the VRRC on a Wednesday, of course, but if you want a little bit of a... No, you're not.
Join us.
No, you're
Come
not.
Here.
You can do both. You can, Kyle. Don't worry.
You can.
Jump into the BSR with us and jump on iRacing, give it a bit of a bash as well. I'm sure there'll be plenty of people to help you out along the way. But at the moment, Adam Delmont doesn't need any help, does he? And neither does his teammate, Adam McNally, in the Excite car.
Yeah, I mean, 2 teammates working brilliantly. Adam Delmont currently top of the pile. And I mean, we have seen Adam Delmont get race victories already this season, taking race win at Laguna Seca. Adam McNally has been racing up and down the field, and I think took his first race victory of the season at Suzuka last time out as well. But, well, I think we're back to normal programming being resumed as Jason Cooper and Lars Fischer make it a 5-star 1-2. So it's quickly shifted from an Excite 1-2 to now 5-star 1-2. And I think this is going to be pretty much the pattern of the evening, because Adam Delmont, McNally looked very quick. Juanji Lin managed to slot himself up into 4th place, but we will find out, of course, later on through the evening how their on-lap pace can translate into race pace.
Yeah, we will indeed, and we'll just focus on a couple of the other drivers and the other classes as well. We do have AMs. Colin Sampson currently leading the way in the AM category. He's got Chris Dixon just behind him in 10th place overall. Then Fiona Siddons and Adam Fox both have, they're both here, but they unfortunately have qualifying bans. So Fiona Siddons and Adam Fox are unable to take part in this particular session, but they'll be on the grid for race number 1. And if we're talking, and so is Luke Cooper as well, by the way, in the pro category. So Luke Cooper got a qualifying ban. He'll be for race number 1, but he wasn't in qualifying. And we are seeing a very similar pattern in the pro-am category, aren't we? That we saw a week ago at Suzuka. No other drivers in the pro-am have qualifying bans. It is just the fact that Dan Skinner is the only driver here that is in the pro-am category, unfortunately. It's getting a little bit sparse, isn't it, on the grid? He's just put him up to 7th place. But the Excite driver, the other Excite driver, in a bit of a class of his own, like you made the joke before, Ed. And I think at some point, somebody's going to have to look at this and think, you know what, we'll just make him a pro, because his I rating is high enough to be a pro. And he's clearly got decent pace. And the pro-am just isn't really worth it anymore.
Yeah, we will, of course, see how the season goes on. You can always get drivers that have signed up for the season, not attending so far, but you're more than welcome to join in. So I think we might have just had a bit of a lull for a couple of runs, but hopefully we see that picking up next week. Of course, like you say, in a class of his own, but to be fair, you've got to say as well that 5-star could be in a class of their own, just judging by their pace. Jason Cooper with a 44.6. Lars Fisher with a 44.7, and then you've got to go 2 tenths back to Adam Delmont in his Excite Mazda, number 77. You can just see on track now up ahead of Dan Skinner, who we are currently watching. Going on board now, just through the chicane. Tight and technical, you chuck it in there at high speed, but I think we're not seeing necessarily a full push lap from Skinner.
No, we'll shoot to
Same
Adam
as well from
McNally, I think, his teammate, because Ed, I'm sort of half hoping you'll be able to take us for a lap if Adam McNally plays ball and actually goes full chap. Now, he might be coming into the pit lane. I would doubt it, because it's 11.5 minutes gone. Go on, Ed, try and take us around a lap of Donington Park. We're on board with Adam McNally.
Here we go, flat out down the start-finish straight here into Redgate, picking braking points soon. And I mean, that car's going to be right on the way in. You want to be as far left as possible. And I'm not sure who that was coming out of the pits, but that is in the worst possible point as he comes through Redgate. Runs a touch wide. He won't get an off-track penalty for that. You can roughly afford it, but I think that has already messed up this lap. We're going to still follow him through, down through the crane curves and in towards Old Hairpin. Going wide in, but it doesn't seem to be a full push lap here for Adam McNally. Watching him underneath Starkey's Bridge and up towards Trans Curve. This left-hander going to pitch it through and then stay nice and close to the left-hand side before chucking in early towards McLean's. Hug the apex and carry the momentum through in a higher gear. That's in the sort of upper echelons of the power band as he makes his way up towards Coppice. Chucking it in, you can cut the corner quite nicely and get away with it. Again, it's all about carrying the momentum through here, but again, I'm not seeing any real aggression from Adam McNally. This is not the fastest of laps for him. Now in towards the chicane, far over to the right hand side, chucking it through and a little bit wider of the mark on the left hander that's upset him for the right of that chicane section. But then coming up towards the Melbourne hairpin, pick your braking point just as the track starts to dip away with you, get onto the anchors, swing it in nice and early. You can take 2 different lines. He goes for the earlier line, hugs it in tight and gets on the power nice and early. But yeah, you can see not pushing at all, giving the tyres a little bit of a break as he comes in towards Goddard's and also allowing his teammate to close right up behind. Look at the wide line he takes in to get the late apex and get on the power nice and early, carry the momentum out of the corner, because that sets him up all the way through in towards Redgate. Yeah, and now we're probably going to see all of these Excite drivers at probably now start pushing. You can see there McNally's lap time 2.5 seconds off his previous best. Not a good push lap from him.
No, bit of a shame. Maybe he got a bit camera shy, but we'll never find out, I suppose. Adam Fox, I thought he had a qualifying ban. I was incorrect because, boom, he goes on pole position for the AM class with on 47.1. A good lap, 4 tenths quicker than the likes of Colin Sampson, and about a full second, 1.2 seconds quicker than Chris Dixon. Just had to do some very quick mental maths there. It's not my strong suit. But, yeah, very quick by Adam Fox. He's been away for a couple of weeks, as Adam, and that means it's opened up the AM class a little bit, but he's back, and he's clearly showing that he's hasn't lost any of his pace. We've also had Summer Farm Estates on in the YouTube chat coming and say hello. I believe that's Fiona Siddons, because they've said that they've got a qualifying ban, and Fiona is the only AM driver to have not gone out, and I don't believe that's Luke Cooper. So, yeah, I think that must be Fiona Siddons. Carl has sent me a link after you're finished. Definitely would be interested. So, Fiona, if you're in the qualifying, go and have a look for, try and put a link in the YouTube chat. Oh, I don't know if that even works, but give it a go to get in touch with Carl Feldes. Otherwise, I'll try and do it after the race anyway. But yes, it's close to the end of qualifying. Jason Cooper on pole position, and I can tell you that no one down to James Clark is improving in any sectors on these last couple of laps. So we're keeping an eye on Adam Fox. This is only his second push lap. He might jump the likes of Wayne Douglas, but really he's got pole position for the AM category. That's all he really needs to do. Colin Sampson and Chris Dixon are in the pits, so he's got no threats for anybody trying to overtake him. It looks like, as the checkered flag drops, it's going to be Jason Cooper on pole.
Yeah, one to watch though is Juanji Lin. He just crossed the line before the checkered flag fell, so we are going to see a final attempt at maybe a front row start for the 5-star motorsport driver. Just watching Adam Fox rounding out the final corner. He's had personal best sector 1 through sector 2 and sector 3, and as he crossed the line, a personal best in sector 4, but not enough to improve on his position. Stays in 10th place overall. Now here we go, Juanji Lin, track all to himself as he makes his way up through Coppice, slightly wide of the mark, but you just can see the tail hanging out, showing that he's carrying plenty of momentum to loosen it up just a touch. The tyres right on the limit of their adhesion. Now in towards the chicane. Look how far to the right-hand side of the circuit he gets, almost onto the grass, chucking it in, two-wheeling it pretty much as the car leans on its suspension through the left and then the right. Now in towards, of course, the Melbourne hairpin, all the way again over to the grass on the left-hand side, going for the tighter line. It seems to be the preferred line in these MX-5s. Jason Cooper comes across the line, improves even further to cement his place on pole. Lars Fischer does not improve his time, but only by the slimmest margins, stays second place. Juanji Lin, personal best in the second sector. You can see that there by the green bar at the bottom of your screens underneath his current time. Comes across the line. What will it be for Juanji Lin? Not an improvement by less than, or by 1/10 of a second. He was shy of his previous time, and that sees him starting in 4th place. And he only needs to find 6,000 to Adam Delmont. That shows how close qualifying was between the pair of them. But Jack, yet again, it's a front row lockout for 5-star motorsport.
Yeah, starting to get accustomed to this one, aren't we? And it doesn't seem to be, in this handling system anyway, this handling model, shall I say, for the MX-5, doesn't seem to be many drivers who can live with the pace of the 5-star team. Maybe they've just got something a little extra in their drivers. Maybe they've got a little extra in their setup. Maybe they work a bit harder at producing a setup that suits each individual driver rather than one sort of overarching setup that tries to suit 7 drivers. I'm not saying that's what year one do, but I'm saying that if they aren't individually tailoring the setups, then maybe that's making a couple of their drivers suffer. I'm not entirely sure. It's very difficult, really, though, isn't it, Ed? In these sort of championships where you do have to set the car up, that is a skill in itself. It's not always as easy as just go out there in the stock car and all of a sudden you're going to be finding that you're going to be qualifying towards the front end of the order, because people really do know how to set these cars up. But we'll get into that a little bit more later on, because we've got a grid to line up, and it's Jason Cooper who'll be on pole position alongside his 5-star teammate Lars Fischer, with Adam Delmont and Juanji Lin just behind on row 2. James Clark is in 5th with Adam McNally in 6th. Max Edmondson in 7th with Dan Skinner, the Pro-Am pole sitter, and the only driver in it, in 8th place. Wayne Douglas is in 9th, and then the pole for Am class is Adam Fox with Colin Sampson and Chris Dixon just behind. And last but not least, at the back end of the field is Luke Cooper and Fiona Siddons. So 14 drivers here at the BSR MX5 Championship. And it should produce exciting racing, because this is Donington Park, and as Ed and me previously mentioned, it's a very good track for racing, especially in MX5s. You will see them launch around the outside. You'll see them try and carry some momentum. You'll see them go out onto the gravel, rejoining, hopefully safely, and hopefully everyone will have a good time. So there are 4 races in this evening. All of them are 15-minute races, and of course, this one's dictated by qualifying. The rest of them are a randomised reverse grid. But as the engine notes rise, the lights are coming on, and that could only mean one thing at round 3 of the BSR MX5 Trophy. We are racing. It looked like there was a little bit of a gap, potentially.
Juanji Lin got a bad start.
Yeah, Juanji Lin did, actually. That's what the gap was occurring. And Adam Delmont has been able to take advantage and secure that 3rd place. However, Lars Fisher and Jason Cooper not fighting each other as they go into the first corner for the first time. James Clark has muscled his way past on Adam McNally, Max Edmondson. In fact, Juanji Lin is really suffering. Not a good start at all, as the top 2 of the top 3 are fighting it out. Adam Delmont's not letting 5-star get away with this. Slots it up the inside of Lars Fisher and gets 2nd place through the old hairpin.
Yeah, Adam McNally got all sorts of out of shape on the exit of the corner, as does Max Edmondson there out of Old Hall, and I think he's just been hit around. There's a huge pile-up of cars off the circuit. You can see there as well. That is James Clark in the mix, rejoining the circuit. Juanji Lin has had a really topsy-turvy. He was down about 4 positions as he made his way down towards Old Hall hairpin. Corner, and then all of a sudden finds himself back up into 5th place, only down 1 place. But Wayne Douglas is going to make it by, as I think there might be a slowdown penalty to serve for Juanji. Look at that, having to drop so far behind to get it cleared in time, allowing so many more cars past, and all of a sudden it's gone from bad to not so bad to terrible for Juanji Lin, it seems.
Yeah, no, we're definitely going to be trying to get an eye on what exactly happened through all the chaos that first lap was. What we can say is that Adam Delmont is up to 2nd place. That's an improvement for him. Wayne Douglas is up 4 positions. Adam Fox is up 4 positions. Luke Cooper's up 6 positions. They're in 5th, 6th and 7th, respectively. Biggest losers, unfortunately, with the likes of Juanji Lin. He lost 5 positions and in 9th. Like we've just seen, apologies. James Clark down 8 places, down to 13th. Fiona Siddons is lapping, and 14th. I think the only driver, apart from Jason Cooper, who hasn't changed positions since the start of this race. A stat that I always like to try and bring up. It's always fascinating. It does illustrate, really, that it's an exciting first lap, Ed.
Yeah, it is very exciting. I think Adam had the most exciting first lap because he was really out of shape through Redgate, and it looked for all the world that he was going to lose so many positions. Then all of a sudden he's now found himself gaining 2 positions from his grid position, which again reflects the turmoil we've seen into this corner. And again, oh my word, Juanji Lin having to slam onto the anchors. Didn't anticipate the closing speed between himself and I think that was Adam Fox just up ahead of him. Sees him lose out maybe to actually Adam Fox's teammate Constanson. No, back up through the inside through McLean's, and that is nicely sorted. Let's have a look, if we can, Jack, at the opening lap, because there was a lot of action that went on. I think Adam McNally and Juanji Lin were right in the thick of it.
Well, this is what Fiona Siddons, having to Fiona Siddons is right at the back, and I think just trying to take avoiding action, went off the road slightly. iRacing has lied to me. That wasn't very... Oh, that's what Fiona Siddons ended up crashing for. That's a bit of a shame. Let's have a look at Juanji Lin. Is this going through old hairpin? I'm not sure if it caught the first lap action. Oh, Edmondson got loose and then caught James Clark, I believe that was, and ended up, Juanji Lin actually took avoiding action, but that might have caused a slowdown. That might be why he got the slowdown penalty, because he had to cut across what technically is a corner at that point in the race.
Yeah, if we go from the race start from Juanji Lin, I think you'll see just the huge carnage that unfolds just around him. If we go to this view, you'll see bogs down off of the line, and then he's going to get swamped by cars appearing on his right hand side. You can hear them now just moving up alongside. It's going to get the call for 3 wide as he's going into the corner, which is why he's so cautious and careful not to get out of shape. And then look at that, a big slide up ahead for Adam McNally that sees him have to basically slam on the anchors and lose a handful of positions as all the cars go by on his right hand side. Finally slots it down through the crane of curves, and then up ahead you're going to see maybe an opportunistic move. It seems to be fine actually between Max Edmondson. He just gets massively out of shape, and then there's a snap one way, then a snap the other. Sees him come into the path of James Clark, and Well, I think that is about everything covered in the fast and quite frantic opening few corners of this race. Now back to live pictures, we can see Luke Cooper almost backing up the pack just a touch as Adam Fox is in behind, as is Juanji Lin. And you can just about see Dan Skinner and Colin Sansom through the shot as well. Slipstream is key around this circuit. If you don't have it, you are a sitting duck. And I think that's exactly how Luke Cooper will feel, even though Adam Fox is in a lower class as an AM driver. He's still not able to pull away.
He isn't. Oh, and that's not ideal, is it? If you start lagging in and out, Luke Cooper maybe having a little bit of trouble with the internet connection there, Ed. It's a difficult one to drive with. It's a damn difficult one to drive against as well.
Yeah, as you're going to see, Juanji Lin brave it around the outside of Adam Fox. And you know what? I think it's going to work out from a little bit slidey on the exit. But he's going to get a nice helping of slipstream from Luke Cooper. As I say that, Luke Cooper moves over to the left-hand side of the circuit and helps out Adam Fox just a touch in towards Redgate. The inside line is very strong through here. Again, the blinking throwing them off. But coming now down towards the Craner curves, you will see Juanji Lin slot up into 7th place. Meanwhile, further in front, pretty much identical gaps between Jason Cooper, Adam Delmont and Lars Fischer. Half a second between them all. Adam Fox, though, wow, what a move that was.
Yeah, he's doing
just
well.
Just about hanging on.
Yeah, just about hanging on. It's not going to help his run up the circuit, though, into McLean's, is it? And as he pitches into the right-hand side, you can see Dan Skinner in the Pro-Am category looking up the inside, gets the apex as Adam Fox misses it slightly and is still loose on the exit and just about holds it together. For the time being, though, Dan Skinner slots up the inside. Adam Fox, I imagine, will reply, because that's what Adam Fox does. But a driver that I'm interested in seeing, actually, is a little bit further up the road. I'm just going to see how this one finishes off. But Jason Cooper has been caught just a touch by Adam Delmont in the top 3. Very close to each other indeed. I will shoot to that one. Now, look at this. This is as close as they've been. I'm just wondering. I can't see that Jason Cooper has gone off the track or anything. So is this on raw pace? It's
the slipstream again, Jack. I was saying that they've caught back up. It's about half a second between Cooper and Delmont and half a second between Delmont and Fischer. And I think it is just down to the slipstream. It's really helped out Adam Delmont to reel that gap in. I mean, we saw how close they were on pace. It was more of in qualifying. Adam Delmont was, I think, the car punching a hole for his Excite teammates, which was why he wasn't quite able to get the time that I think he thought he might have had in the bag. But now, as they make their way down through the Craner curves, a little bit slow through Redgate. That seems to be where Delmont is weakest. Lars Fischer very quick through the first sector of purple, faster than anybody else. Then this next sector, I think, is where we see, maybe to do with the setup and how the cars are balanced, Adam Delmont start to reel in Jason Cooper a little bit more.
Oh, there was, I don't know whether there was contact or not, whether Adam Delmont just pitched in early and it was a bit of a trick of the cameras, but Adam was almost sent flying there, it looked like, from Lars Fischer. Now, Lars isn't a dirty driver in the slightest, so I don't imagine that was the case, but it did look like Adam sort of pitching the car in very aggressively, trying to rotate the rear end as quickly as possible. Normally it does work, to be fair, in these MX-5s around Donington Park. You do have to be very aggressive with the rear end, especially on iRacing. With these stock cars, they don't have much brunt. They don't have much power under the bonnet, so you really do have to send the minimum speed through the corner and get it rotated any way possible. 15-minute races, remember, they aren't that long, so you really don't need to look after the tyres that much. Really late on the brakes there is Adam Delmont, couldn't get the car rotated, and Lars Fischer looks very interested in trying to make advantage of the fact that the Excite driver was just getting a little bit excited on the brakes. He looks at the inside, nothing doing just yet, makes a late apex, which is exactly what you want to do around the last corner of the Donington Park GP layout, because like you mentioned earlier, Ed, in your lap through qualifying, you want to get a good exit, don't you? Because you've got a long time with the steering wheel pretty straight and the foot flat to the floor.
Yeah, you can see how much they are taking, though, in towards Redgate on that left-hand side. They're getting basically onto the pit exit line, which is why in that qualifying lap that we were on board, Adam Delmont for, it just wasn't coming through for him. He was forced out of position, forced tight into Redgate, which is not what you need. You need to go as wide in to carry the speed out all the way down through the flat-out Craner curves. And that was why we saw him abandon that lap pretty soon. Now, though, Jason Cooper is starting to feel a little bit more pressure. Adam Delmont has, I think, been released up. It was looking more in his rearview mirrors at Lars Fischer as the gap was down to just a handful of tenths of a second. But now we are seeing Cooper under a little bit more pressure as Adam Delmont has, I think, been unleashed a touch from Lars Fischer and can focus more on the car ahead rather than the car behind. In towards Melbourne Hairpin, we will come just through the chicane first. Delmont has looked pretty good through here, just getting a nice exit, but he won't be close enough to chuck a move up the inside as much as he would love to. He needs to wait a little while longer and maybe set it up through Goddard's. We have seen drivers opt for moves through there because of how wide drivers need to take it into that final corner for the exit down towards Redgate. We'll have a look here. Is he going to fancy a little sniff up the inside? No, opting for again, the typical racing line. Again, though, you can see the drivers going still a little bit tighter than they would in qualifying. They go for a late apex, but still a little bit sooner than they would in qualifying, just to cover off anyone in behind them.
It's interesting, though, isn't it? We threatened that 5-star would have it all their own way, as we see Excite, driver number 17, that is, Dan Skinner, get a little bit of contact with Adam Fox, who's mixing it with not only the Pro-Ams, but the pros as well, because Max Edmondson is hunkered up behind now. I'm not sure if Max has a little bit of damage, but we did see him make contact earlier in the race, of course. We scrutinised it with quite some detail through Old Hairpin on the first lap. Dan looking up the inside, nothing doing for the time being. But yes, we did mention right at the beginning of this evening, is anybody going to be able to match the 5-star team? They qualified 1-2. They are top 3 in the championship. In fact, they were 1-2-4, weren't they, in the qualifying order? Adam Delmont was the meat in the 5-star sandwich. He's certainly playing his part, though. He is definitely challenging, and he's challenging very, very well indeed. I think Jason Cooper was probably expecting to have a nice, easy race at this, but as soon as Delmont got into second place, Ed, on that opening lap into Old Hairpin, you sort of got the sense that this was on.
Yeah, is he going to go for a move now? It could be on in towards the chicane. It'll have to be brave. He's gone late. He's forcing them to go side by side. Jason Cooper braves it around the outside to then get the inside. Is the door going to be thrown open for Lars Fischer? Down in towards Hairpin now. I think he's going to just have the advantage. You can see that Jason Cooper forces Adam Delmont wide and to concede a little bit more. Is Lars Fischer going to use this opportunity to seize second place? No, I think Delmont just about has it under control. If he parks it on the exit, which he does nicely. Look at how close they are together. This is a great fight, but this is the situation you do not want to be in if you're Adam Delmont, because you've got two cars that are teammates that might work together, and you'll find yourself losing out more often than not in situations such as these. Just seeing them now come over the line. We will have, I believe, 2 more laps. This is not the white flag. That will be coming next time they cross the line. So there's 2 more real racing laps for these drivers to battle it out. Watch Adam Delmont with a nice run through Old Hall, but again, struggling to make any headway up the hill. In towards McLean's. There's that little touch from behind you, I think, from Lars Fischer that's just upset Adam Delmont. The car looks very twitchy into that corner, as it has done all evening long. He's going to be forced wide in towards Coppice, losing a lot of time, the pair of them. And Lars, I think that was maybe a little bit too deep, but I think that could have been more of a racing incident. The two cars just sort of melding into one another. That code might have played a part there. It sort of dragged Lars Fischer across Adam Delmont's path, but that has pretty much put this fight to bed. I can't see Adam Delmont closing up to Jason Cooper on this white flag lap, and Lars Fischer, he had a little dive up the inside, but didn't pay off.
No, it didn't. We will have a very quick look at that. Now, there was contact, and that was... Yeah, there we go. There was contact, wasn't there? And that's what didn't allow Lars Fischer to actually take the corner. Now, what we're going to do is have a very quick look and see if we can see it from Adam Delmont's perspective on board. Yeah, so... does appear late,
to be fair.
Does appear quite quickly as well, doesn't he, on the apex, Lars Fischer? But we all know Adam Delmont on iRacing, you do get warned whether someone's going up your inside, don't we? So we'll leave that one to the
you
shooters.
do. I think for my money, Adam Delmont does everything right. He gives space on the inside. I think it's Lars Fischer chucks it in a little bit too deep, and comes across the nose of Adam Delmont, who is giving space to the inside. Not a lot of space, but still a car's width all throughout the corner. He's not doing anything untoward there. So it's, yeah, I think 6 of one, half a dozen of the other racing incident in my book. But it's going to profit from all of this and have a nice, calm final lap. Jason Cooper, you can see him still pushing, though. There's nothing calm about Jason when he's behind the wheel of an MX5. He chucks it through qualifying laps across every single lap of a race. And that should see him take the checker flag and win yet another race.
Yeah, there's the problem. We speak about this quite a lot, don't we, when we commentate on racing, Ed, or when everybody watches racing. You think, oh, you know, you can take it easy. Take 5-10% off your lap, you know, just chill out. You've got this sort of thing. But the problem is, if you're so used to driving your car on a track at 100% constantly, all of a sudden taking 5-10% off, it's really dangerous. It can really ruin your race. And, you know, you're not just taking a half a second off your lap time to take it easy sort of thing. That's really hard to do. You're sort of almost... You end up taking 5 seconds off your lap time because you didn't realise that you know, you're going into corners at different speeds, your braking points are different and everything like that. So yeah, Jason Cooper driving just as hard right up until the line, because now he has a little bit of a celebration weave as he takes the victory here at round 3 of BSR MX5 Championship at Donington Park. Adam Delmont parks up early, gets out the car. Maybe that's a sign that he's not overly impressed with the 5-star shenanigans that were going on around him, but he did get a podium, so that's never to be sniffed at, I would say. Lars Fisher was in 3rd, Adam McNally, another Excite driver, so it's 5-star, Excite, 5-star, Excite, and then another 5-star, because Juanji Lin finishes the race into 5th position. And we'll be able to bring you the full rundown of the, of everybody's finishing position, just as everybody crosses the line. There was a couple of incidents right at the end. Wayne Douglas had a bit of a crash, apparently. Now, what's going on here? It's going into the chicane. Is he just a little bit wide? Is this classing as a crash? Oh, yeah, that's very wide, isn't it? As the camel gets spanned round. And, well, that's not ideal way to be facing at that particular part of the track. And then we had another crash as well as Chris Dixon, I think right at the end of the race, going down Craner Curves with his teammates side by side. That's Fiona Siddons on the outside and going into the old hairpin. They make contact because neither of them quite knew how to hit the braking pedal in the safest way possible, I don't believe. Not nice for Chris Dixon and Wayne Douglas. Not the way you want to be finishing a race, obviously. But we have finished the race, and that means we can bring you the full race results. Jason Cooper then taking the victory by 1.3 seconds in the end by Adam Delmont, but that doesn't really paint the picture of that race. Lars Fisher was in 3rd with Adam McNally in 4th and Juanji Lin in 5th. Luke Cooper in 6th with Wayne Douglas in 7th. Adam Fox taking the AM victory and Max Edmondson in 9th. Colin Sampson rounds out the top 10 with Dan Skinner taking the Pro-Am victory in 11th place. Fiona Siddons in 12th and 13th Chris Dixon. James Clark in 14th. And I tell you what, can you guess what I've forgotten to do? It is, of course, the reverse grid. And, well, I'll try and give it a generate. No, actually, no, hold on. We've got to do it from 14, haven't we? 6 to 14, because that's the amount of drivers that we've got. We generate that, and it whips up number 11. So Dan Skinner, the only Pro-Am driver, will not only be on Pro-Am pole, he'll be on pole overall for race number 2. I do apologise for getting that a little bit late. Normally I'm a little bit more hot on it than that, but hopefully the powers that be will be able to generate up that grid really rather quickly. But Ed, that was a good start to the evening. Normally race 1 is a I wouldn't say a touch dull, but a touch processional. But that time, everything kicked off at lap 1, and that gave us some fantastic action to watch.
It was very topsy-turvy, up and down, a lot of incidents and accidents, but thankfully no drivers not finishing. So everyone scores points, which is the main thing. However, yes, we will need to move over to the next server. I cannot see anyone coming in for an interview, so I think, Jack, it's time for us to go on a short break, and we'll be back very shortly.
We will indeed, yes. So we'll be about 10, potentially 12 minutes. We'll try and keep it to as short time as possible. But it's an opportunity for you to go for a cup of tea, go to the toilet, everything you need to do, and we'll be back on your screens as soon as possible. Welcome back, everyone, to the BSR MX5 Trophy for round 3 here at Donington Park. We're going to be going into race number 2. Thank you for everybody who's been liking and subscribing through the break. I realise that it's not the most interesting thing in the world to watch a blank screen counting down, but I do appreciate the support, so thank you very much. Hopefully we'll be bringing you some entertaining racing in a couple of seconds, or a couple of minutes time, really. Probably about a minute until we get into race number 2. And Ed, an 11 reverse grid. That's about as high as we can go here with the numbers that we've got.
Yes, he's Dan Skinner getting on to pole position though, so excited to see what he can do. Will he be able to maybe seize a victory by the Skinner of his teeth?
Oh, you never know. You never know. But I do like where you're going for. I like the effort there, Ed.
It was a bit of a stretch, but, you know, we've got to try and make it work. I mean, it's always exciting, isn't it? These rather large compared to the grid size reverse grids does, of course, give us plenty of entertainment to watch. Jason Cooper as well trudge his way up through the field. You can see the grid now, and we can see Dan Skinner is on pole position with Colin Sansom lining up alongside on the front row with Max Edmondson, favourite pony for the race victory there in 3rd place ahead of Adam Fox, Wayne Douglas, Luke Cooper, Juanji Lin, Adam McNally, Lars Fisher, Adam Delmont, Jason Cooper, race 1, race victor in 11th place ahead of Fiona Siddons. Then we come down to Chris Dixon and James Clark.
Yeah, plenty of people on there to be keeping an eye out on, but I'd probably agree with you and say that potentially Max Edmondson for a favourite. Thank you very much, Steve Anderson, for jumping on and liking the stream as well. Plenty of new faces and new names flying about the place, but always nice to have new people tuning in and hopefully enjoying the BSR MX5 Trophy. It certainly is a good championship to get involved with and good championship to follow as well. So please do stick around if you want to. And we'll see the drivers set off and for another 15 minutes of a battle around the Donington Park GP layout. Dan Skinner on pole then, the lights are coming on, the engine notes are rising. That can only mean one thing. We're getting that whiff of excitement again as the tyres light the track up and puffs of smoke erupt from everywhere. It's a good start by Dan Skinner, I'd say, with Colin Sampson looking to put a little bit of pressure. Max Edmondson, though, had to cover off the inside line because he didn't quite get a good run, and he's definitely not got a good run with a bit of contact for the 966 of Adam Fox just behind him. That's allowed Wayne Douglas, who came a bit of a cropper earlier on in the end of race number 1. Luckily, both of them still facing in the correct direction for the time being as they head down towards Craner Curves. In fact, Max Edmondson, even though he had that little bit of contact, Adam Fox taking stage exit left, and I believe Fiona Siddons does as well. Max Edmondson gives a little wiggle on the rear end, and that's enough to send them spinning along with Wayne Douglas.
I think that was more on Wayne Douglas rather than Max Edmondson. I'll have a look at the replay. I think Max Edmondson gets into the back of, might be Colin Sansom. We'll have a look here. Does seem to...
Oh, you might be right.
Trying to take a distraction. It is just Wayne Douglas not anticipating a checkup and plowing into the back of Max. Unfortunately, I think the stewards will look rather dimly on Wayne there. There's Juanji Lin, I think, for yet another race in a row. Had to take evasive action. Has got a massive slowdown on the first lap and has to let the entire world by in towards the chicane.
That is absolutely heartbreaking, isn't it, if you Juanji Lin, because there's an argument to say he was one of the favourites all of a sudden, but now his 5-star teammate Lars Fisher is, and I think Juanji Lin's actually got another slowdown coming through the chicane, so it's really not going well for him as Dan Skinner warps in and out of existence like a TARDIS, and he's having real internet connection issues. And that's not going to be easy for Luke Cooper or any of the drivers around him, to be honest, as Lars Fisher takes the race lead with a nice tidy exit out of the Melbourne loop, and he overtakes Colin Sansom, and Dan Skinner actually overtakes Colin Sansom as well, but there's an argument to say he probably didn't see him coming, considering you can't see where he is half the time. But hopefully, there he goes, he reappears. Ooh. That's a really, really dangerous thing for other drivers, isn't it? That we sort of touched on it before.
Oh, and there's a lunge up the inside from Jason Cooper, and well, the pace that we've seen from him, he could be a favourite for back-to-back race victories, maybe even a Grand Slam. He's had excellent performances through the seasons here at Donington Park, mainly at the national layout. So here showing that he's just as quick around the GP variant as well as this. Colin Sansom just gets forced offline a touch into towards Old Hall and loses not 1 but 2 positions in an instant.
Jason Cooper slots himself into 2nd place, so surprise, surprise, I might as well record this and put it on repeat. It's a 5-star 1-2. The only surprising thing about it is the fact that it's Lars Fischer in first place and Jason Cooper in second, and not the other way round, as it normally is. Even through qualifying, we saw that today into qualifying. So even though Jason Cooper started in 11th place, Lars Fischer started in 9th place. Took me a little minute then. We are seeing them fight right to the front pretty much immediately. I believe we've only had, this will be finishing our second lap, Ed, and normally the reverse grids, they take a little longer than that, but these two seem to have this track nailed.
Just watching all of this unfold, Juanji Lin's looking to make up positions and going about it rather swiftly on the Swift Cooper esports driver there, ahead of, that is James Clark, rather handily, and now trying to make his way up the inside of Adam McNally, but they touched just briefly, turning into the corner, final bend. They continue to go side by side, and I think Juanji Lin decides to slot in behind. You already made one position, doesn't need to throw it all away, fighting for a second and risking contact. So following him into Redgate now. Yeah, time actually to go in this race still for Juanji Lin. He hasn't had the best of starts, but he can still see the potential of a top 4 finish on the cards. Maybe even a podium if Dan Skinner drops back off of the lead pair and gets involved in the battling that's currently going on in behind him. This amazing, I think, 5-car tussle, as that's a very, very slow, well, not Adam McNally, very slow Collins answer. It's going to get forced wide and then in towards McLean's, slotting back in behind.
Yeah, so a bit of moving, a bit of shuffling. I wouldn't say anything that were unexpected, though. An AM-class driver being overtaken by very quick pros like Lin and McNally. It's going to happen eventually, wasn't it? And luckily they did it about as cleanly as possible. Dolores Williams, thank you very much for the like on the stream. Again, lots of people getting involved, and that's what we like to see here. And we want to get as many eyes on the DSR as human... Apologies about that. Humanly possible. How rude of me. I do apologise. But it's nice. The reverse grid racing, Ed, does bring a little bit extra... You know that word? That little bit of spice, doesn't it? It allows a few drivers to try. Beautiful spice. It allows a few drivers to try and catch up, make a bit of a name for themselves, and maybe have a story or two to tell when they next jump into the Discord chat. And Dan Skinner, who wouldn't normally be in the top 3, let's face it. I think he would be the first to admit he wouldn't be around that top 3 area. And yet here he is. He's got a little decent gap for Adam Delmont, who was very quick in race number 1. 5.5 minutes to go. You sim race a lot more than I do. Ed, how much pressure is on Dan Skinner right now? Even though he doesn't have any physical pressure behind him, it's a mental game at this point.
It is, and it's just about hitting your marks, and I think he knows that he's a Pro-Am driver with a field full of pros in behind, and he just has to keep lapping by himself, not focusing too much on the cars running away ahead of him, not focusing too much on the cars in behind, and just hope that they start battling and slowing each other down, because you can see Adam Delmont in behind him, as well as Luke Cooper and Adam McNally. They're all going to be scrapping away, and to be fair, for Skinner's benefit, Delmont and McNally in behind are his teammates, so that might be a saving grace.
Might be indeed. So I've just illustrated the reason why we're not following so much the fight for the race lead, because I can guarantee you it's not a fight. Lars Fischer and Jason Cooper will just hot lap now behind each other. We saw Jason having opportunity to look at the inside. He just didn't bother. If they're going to swap positions, they're going to do it amicably. In fact, so much so that Jason Cooper just lost 0.3 of a second because he broke early, so he didn't really push at Lars Fischer into anything silly. So we'll maybe check in with them in towards the end of the race, but unfortunately the two race leaders, we've seen it all season, haven't we? They're doing well in terms of teammates racing. They're scoring as most amount of points possible, but it's not necessarily what we come to see. But this is, isn't it? This fight for 6th place between different drivers, different teams. Swift Cooper up ahead of Excite Racing, and then 5-Star just behind. They're all trying to take different lines. They're all trying to put each other off, and there's pressure being mounted left, right, and centre.
Just watching. Now, Luke Cooper, he's going to be under a lot of pressure here, because you can see up the inside. Adam McNally is going to go for it. Luke Cooper, I think, gets a tap and all of a sudden realizes, oh, there's a car up me inside. Got to go right the way around the outside, but go for an amazing switchback maneuver. Look at how far he went to the left-hand side to cut it around, get on the right-hand side, down through the Craner curves. They'll continue to scrap all the way down to Old All, and maybe even coming out of it. Luke Cooper, though, with the inside line, and they do touch. Oh dear, That was always going to happen if you race that hard into that corner where it does tighten up very suddenly on you. Difficult to pin a driver to say one way or the other. They both seem to play their own part in that scrap, don't you think, Jack?
Yeah, but knowing drivers, I'm sure one will blame the other and the other will blame the other. That's just how racing drivers are, isn't it? So I'm sure, again, one for the stewards. We've had a few of them tonight, though, haven't we?
Yeah.
Where you sort of, you're looking at it and you think, I can see the argument one way, you can see the argument the other. That probably means there isn't going to be anything done about it. As the top two have changed positions, I don't imagine this was that difficult to sort out between themselves. I'll see if I can find a replay, but equally, it's a bit of a shame that we've lost that battle for 6th place now.
Yeah, I mean, as a racing driver yourself, Jack, is that just something that maybe the stewards will ask them to kiss and make up and no further action, or is it one that you reckon will leave both drivers upset with the outcome and it'll get settled in the car park after the race?
Well, I've had both ways, to be honest. At the Clark at Brands Hatch, I had an incident with a driver who I won't call out when I was in Ginetta G40s, and basically he ended up getting turned around, but he closed the door on me, sort of thing. And the Clark of the course decided, you know what, it's sort of just a racing incident. He should have done one thing, you should have done this as well. Like, it's both equal blame. So we went away. I tried to shake his hand. He didn't want to shake his hand. And as soon as we're out of sight of the Clark of the course, he squared up to me and threatened to punch me out in the garages. So at that point, I was like, okay, we've only got one race. I'm not going to rise to this. Obviously, nothing happened because otherwise we would have been banned. But yeah, it was an interesting one. So yeah, the Clark tells you to kiss and make up, but sometimes the drivers have other ideas.
Well, at least this is virtual racing.
Yes,
they're
not actually there.
pretty far away from each other. With the cost of fuel, maybe it's not worth driving to someone else's house just for a yell in their ear. So hopefully that is nice and chilled, and we won't be seeing any repercussions from that. It did look to me like just one of those 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, those sorts of racing incidents, which Donington Park sees quite a lot of, to be fair, because the circuit, it looks quite wide at parts here. You can see you could fit probably 4 MX5s wide through there, but then coming down towards areas like Old Hall and maybe even down through the Craner curves, it does get deceptively narrow, and all of a sudden you find yourself not having the same amount of space that you're used to, and that's how all of these little incidents can happen.
Yeah, they can, and as you said, it's a big late lunch shot. I'll get back onto that point in a minute. Adam McNally, I think, has just made 2 places of his own.
Max.
Max Edmondson is, well, there's a hip and shoulder, and there's just, frankly, trying to shove someone out the way, isn't there?
To be fair, I think Max was actually all right in there. I think it was Max going for a space. There was a gap there, and all of a sudden, I think it was mainly Colin Sanson not realising, but that is a...
Try and defend that one, then.
Yeah, that's a hip and shoulder, and then there's just a full-on rugby tackle, that one.
I think you and me are viewing these decisions quite differently tonight, and that's exactly why they're probably going to go down as well.
Well, I was a bit different about that one. You could argue Max Edmondson had a right to the inside, and it was more Colin Sanson not realising there was a car going down on the inside. He let one car through around the outside, then he tried to quickly get onto the racing line. But then this one here, it's just...
I mean, he's aiming towards the outside of the circuit.
Yeah, I mean, McNally does get loose beforehand, though. If you look at Adam McNally's car, the rear end does snap on the exit, so we'll see it here. He is out of shape and then gets an extra bump for his troubles.
I think, to me, it looks like Edmondson's been
overtaken. They're still going.
They are still going, so there might be another incident to talk about in a second. They try and touch up the hill. It's a blind apex. Edmondson gets the apex that time round. There's been plenty of likes as well. Thank you very much, Katie Eames and DeAndre Stefano for liking the stream. And Katie Eames has come on to... into the chat as well, saying, evening to me and you, Ed. I hope you're both good. We're very good because this is very entertaining racing.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, Max Edmondson is, of course, a Civic driver, but his driving at the moment is anything but civil. He's certainly scrapping away with this. This is brilliant battle, and you can just see, though, that this club-level racing, where it is quite elbows out, almost touring car style stuff that you get in the Civic Cup. Excellent battling, and I mean, we're seeing that on full display here. It is brilliant to watch. It
is indeed, as Max seems to be struggling with the Melbourne loop a little bit. Oh, God, looks up the inside, maybe thinks better of it this time. Is he going to go for an apex? No, not quite this time, as McNally lives to fight another day, or another lap, I should say. 12 minutes and 40 seconds gone of this 15-minute action. Jason Cooper still leads the way. Lars Fisher in second place with Adam Delmont in third. Dan Skinner's still leading the Pro-Am. Remember, he was on pole position for this particular race. He's in fourth now. Juanji Lin has recovered to fifth. James Clark sixth, seventh Adam McNally, and eighth is Max Edmondson. Jordan Brennan, there's a blast from the past. Full Edmondson spec, massive damage. Oh, I'll leave that one to you, Jordan, to have that out. I'm sure, no, another friend from VRRC, but I'll leave that one to you. You can have that discussion with him. But yeah, it's great to see more people tuning in and saying hello, of course, and enjoying this racing that Max and McNally are putting on. And I'm sure you guys have your own opinions of what's happening here, there, and everywhere as well, and probably getting quite bored of me and Ed getting it wrong all the time, because of course commentators always get it wrong, don't we? Wayne Douglas and Fiona Siddons are having a nice little battle here as well. These are two drivers that sort of fell victim.
That's Wayne Douglas and Luke Cooper, rather.
Oh, it is actually, yeah. Fiona Siddons is a little bit further back. For Luke Cooper, who's having trouble with his connection, didn't he? And came a cropper. Was it contact with, I'm going to say Edmondson, because there was plenty of contact involving Edmondson all over the place.
There's been plenty of contact involving several drivers. I think it was Douglas just missing his braking point, or rather missing the fact the cars were going to check up. Meanwhile, I think there might have been some battling going on further ahead that we've just seen. But look at these, Wayne Douglas scrapping away to Luke Cooper. I think Luke Cooper definitely has a few issues at the moment. Does seem to be struggling just a touch. As Wayne Douglas yet again struggling to get his car stopped. Could be down to the setup, but Luke Cooper and Lars Fisher come across the line to start their final lap of the race. It's been faultless from 5-star up ahead for the pair of them. As I'm not sure the line Wayne Douglas was going for.
I think he's channeling his inner Latifi there, probably blaming the car as well, and deciding to take the wrong corner, and deciding to go on a different type of track. It's a bit of an odd one for Wayne Douglas there, but yes, you're right, Jason Cooper.
We can't speak ill of Latifi.
Go Tifi, you mean?
Go Tifi. I mean, he did, actually, to give him credit, he did have a brilliant race in Suzuka. It's the only race that he's had that has been, good, I think, in his Formula 1 career. But what a time to do it when you're bowing out. Bow out on a high.
Because he took the short circuit half the time, and no one just noticed, and they don't bother looking at him half the time. No.
That's what I'd be doing.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
I could get away with it, I would as well. It's close up in front, though, isn't it? Jason Cooper, Lars Fisher. I don't think we're going to see them fight it out for the final position, but we have seen McNally ahead of Edmondson for a 1. I think those two are still scrapping away. We will, of course, watch these two come across the line, but that's something to keep in our minds as well, as that Max and Adam, battle.
Well, at the moment, they're a couple of tenths away. Well, they're about half a second away from each other, actually. So it's about as close as this battle on circuit, and you can see that's not going to end up in a race move for the time being. So we will watch these guys cross the line as the checkered flag is readied. I am trying to find the replay where Jason Cooper actually passed Lars Fisher. So I've found it now. I'll try and keep an eye on that and highlight that so I can save it for later. As Jason Cooper takes the checkered flag, and he takes the second race victory here tonight at Donington Park, with Lars Fisher this time taking second place as Edmondson and McNally make contact. They were half a second apart when I last looked. Well, now Edmondson is through, and it very much looked like contact. So the power of iRacing and the special software that SDK supplies with, we will be able to watch that back, even though we didn't have it for you live. So I'll very quickly have a look at everybody else is crossing the line, but when Douglas ended up behind Luke Cooper, everybody else is crossing it a couple of seconds apart. So where was Jason Cooper's pass for Lars Fisher? Here it is. Is this as routine as we're expecting? Does Lars Fisher give up? He goes. Yep, that is a very easy move for Jason Cooper to get into the race lead. And as I said, I am slightly surprised at that, because at some point those guys are going to have to fight for a championship, seeing as they're first and second. Max Edmondson passing Adam McNally, going into the final corner on the final lap. That is a big lunge up the inside, and I don't know about you, Ed. We're going to go on board, but I'm going to say my opinion right now. I don't think he's making the apex
too deep.
Yeah, no, he's channeling his inner Wayne Douglas there, and just going far too hot into the corner.
Yeah, miles too deep from Max, but those things happen. It's just a mistake. I think a better thing to have done was, after that move, he realised that it was a big whack, was to slow down and let McNally pass him and take the position at the line, because I think after all of that, the stewards will give him a much severe penalty rather than if he just, rescinded that place.
Yes, a bit of a shame. And Charlie Hewiston has come in on the Facebook chat as well. And I'm not going to repeat what Charlie has put on, but if anybody wants to, they can. Don't say it. Don't say it. They can go and have a look. So, random number generator to produce the reverse grid for race number 3 of the evening between 6 and 14, and we're going for number 12. Very similar to what we saw just then as well, actually. So, 12 reverse grid, and here is the end result for race number 2. Jason Cooper took the race victory yet again, and he was ahead this time of his teammate Lars Fischer by half a second. Adam Delmont yet again got onto the podium, but this time he had to settle for 3rd, with Dan Skinner in 4th and taking the Pro-Am victory after starting on overall pole. Juanji Lin was in 5th, with 6th being James Clark, 7th Max Edmondson, 8th was Adam McNally, 9th was Luke Cooper, 10th was Wayne Douglas, 11th and winning the AM class is Fiona Siddons, and then 12th and this time on pole position for race number 3 of the evening will be Chris Dixon. Colin Sanson ended up 2 laps down and not scoring points, as well as Adam Fox ended up 9 laps down and unfortunately not scoring points either. Well, there was a lot of entertainment in that one. Ed wasn't there, a lot of controversy and plenty for us to talk about. We're hoping that race 3 is exactly the same.
Yeah, we certainly will. I mean, well, in the thick of it yet again, Max Edmondson. I mean, to be fair, I think half of those were sort of 50-50, but for me that last one was certainly
really.
above the threshold. Max Edmondson was just a touch too aggressive. I think I'm being rather polite there, to be honest. So we'll hopefully see drivers cool it down just a touch in time for the 3rd race. We have hit the halfway point of the evening, so if you are enjoying the show so far, make sure to like and share and do all of those wonderful things, because me and Jack will be back in about 10 minutes.
Welcome back, everybody, to round 3 on race 3, actually, of the BSR MX5 trophy from Donington Park. It's been a very entertaining evening so far, with plenty of ups and downs for lots of drivers. Juanji Lin, I'm sure, will be hoping the second half of this evening it goes a lot better than his first half. Jason Cooper will probably be hoping the opposite, because his first half has gone really rather well, with 2 race victories to his name. Lars Fischer has taken 2 podiums, as well as Adam Delmont taking 2 podiums as well. Can anybody really challenge Jason Cooper? We'll have to wait and see. It's a top 12 reverse grid, so about as big as you can get it here at BSR MX5 for this evening. Anyway, we've got 14 drivers. We've unfortunately had a few people dropping out over the last couple of weeks, but we hope, fingers crossed, that they'll be back in a couple of weeks' time, I believe. Just giving you a bit of an update on the... oh, I've lost it. Oh, that's never easy, is it? Right, there we go. I was having a look for the calendar, and we're at Donington Park for round number 3. We're at Virginia International Raceway next week for round number 4. A track that I've only ever seen raced on Assetto Corsa. I'll probably end up having to buy it for iRacing, unfortunately. But it is a very entertaining track. Everybody who I've ever commentated on who's raced there has thoroughly enjoyed it. And one last bit of admin. Kelos Love, thank you very much for the like on the stream. Ed, we're about to go into race 3. What are we expecting? More of the same, or a little bit different and more conventional?
Hopefully more of the same, because I've been thoroughly entertained so far, but we will see the cars lining up on the grid, Jack. So when they get there, we'll let you run through the grid.
Yeah, remember, it's a top 12 reverse grid that sees Chris Dixon on pole position, the AM class driver. Just ahead, or joining him on the front row, is Fiona Siddons. Wayne Douglas in 3rd, with 4th being Luke Cooper. 5th is Adam McNally, who's just come in the YouTube chat saying game on. He's hoping for a race victory, I'm guessing here. Max Edmondson in 6th, and I'm very much hoping those two reignite their battle from the previous race. James Clark in 7th, Juanji Lin is in 8th, Dan Skinner and Pro-Am driver in 9th, with Adam Delmont rounding out the top 10, Lars Fischer in 11th, and Jason Cooper is in 12th position. And last but not least is Colin Sansom, which means we have lost one, or I think it's Adam Fox, unfortunately. It's because we have 4 AM drivers, and the only AM driver I can't see is Adam Fox. So, yeah, that's a bit of a shame to be losing Adam, but he has been struggling to turn up for the last couple of weeks, Ed, so I suppose some people, real life gets in the way, doesn't it? It is now nearing 20 past 9, and if you've got kids to put to bed, then you've got kids to put to bed, haven't you? But we've got racing to be getting on with, so we'll put Adam Fox's personal life aside for 1 minute. As the lights go out, we are racing with 2 AM Class Year 1 drivers on the front row of the grid. There's contact already between McNally and Edmondson. That didn't take long at all, did it? As Edmondson tried to manoeuvre McNally potentially out the way, or even just give him some encouragement into the first corner, shall we call it.
Oh,
Chris Dixon.
dear.
Oh,
Dixon's off, and so's
Chris.
Fiona.
Dear me, we'll have a little bit of a watch of that in a couple of minutes' time. But it's, Wayne Douglas takes the race lead, with Luke Cooper just behind, the driver who's been TARDISing in and out of existence for the majority of this evening, with Max Edmondson in 3rd place. He's made his name last week at Suzuka at the BSR MX5 Championship. He's certainly putting his stamp on a few drivers here today as well, put it that way, at Donington Park. What can he do? Does he have a race victory up his sleeve? He did at Suzuka, and he's probably hoping that he can do similar things here now. But at the moment, he's got Luke Cooper and Wayne Douglas up ahead of him, with Lars Fischer trying to go around the outside of the Pro-Am driver of Dan Skinner. This is a very brave move. I've tried this in real life. It didn't work for me. Does Lars Fischer manage to pull it off? Yes, he does. I'm going to claim that it's because it's not wet, and mine was in the wet, so it's harder, so, you know, whatever. No, I'm kidding, obviously. I think Lars Fischer's just a bit of a better driver than me. Luke Cooper is in 2nd, but he's got a whole heap of pressure from a charging Max Edmondson, who looks up the inside. Both of them get a little bit shaky as they go through the chicane, and yet there's more contact involving Edmondson. That one, I don't really feel like I can put any blame on Edmondson. I'm trying to select his name. He has got back going. He's done a full 360. He's in a straight line again.
One driver that was... you might say happy to see that happen after all of their battling was Adam McNally. After all of the squabbles and scraps they had in race 2, there might be a wry smile across his lips as he sees his sparring partner come off worse there. So, I mean, it does put him in a perfect position as well. He can see the race leader just up the road. He might be smiling for another reason, that is that the possibility of a race victory is well within his sights.
Yeah, we've been talking about his teammate, haven't we, Adam Delmont, quite a lot, who's been on the podium a substantial amount so far this evening, as Dan Skinner goes wide, misses the apex of the first corner. by a large margin, which allows Luke Cooper to slot up his inside, and sorry, not Dan Skinner, James Clark, who we haven't mentioned that much this evening, actually. He's pretty much kept his nose clean for the majority, apart from one incident in race number 1 that he was a passenger in, really. Slots his way up into Old Hairpin and gets ahead of the Pro-Am driver in the number 17 Excite car. They are trying to go 3 wide, though, Ed. I can't see this ending very well, as the Swift Cooper car just comes across, blocks off that. They're going 2 by 2 into McLean's.
Just about 2 by 2, but you can see Adam Delmont sweeping his way around the outside of James Clark. That's a very nice move there by Delmont to get that sealed up, and now you can start to focus on Fisher and Luke Cooper just up the road and maybe help out his teammate Adam McNally, who is actually starting to streak away from all of that squabbling, you know. Number 9 car currently in second place as Jason Cooper goes one way then the other, and then, oh my word, that was I think actually maybe on Jason Cooper. You know, we'll have a look. Dan Skinner was moving left to right just a touch, but we'll have a look here from Dan Skinner. It's difficult to see because there's a car there and then there's a car the other. Actually, I think that's more on Dan just coming across the nose of Cooper. We'll have a look on board with Jason just from the cockpit camera if we could do.
Oh, there's contact.
There is definitely contact. I think Jason Cooper goes to the right-hand side of the circuit, and I think Dan Skinner might just cut across his nose there.
I think for the first time this evening, I think we're in agreement there, Ed.
Hey!
It's happened! Woohoo! I think it's. I personally, would say that Dan Skinner. Maybe, I mean, it's difficult. I'm not blaming Dan Skinner, but it's. I think he came across, and I don't think Jason Cooper really did. Jason didn't do anything wrong, and I'm not saying that Dan Skinner did anything wrong either. I'm just saying that there wasn't space, and he arguably should have expected it, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, Dan Skinner has ended up coming off worse. He's down in 10th. With Jason now up to 6th position, he's gained 6 places. He's started in 12th, remember, having taken that race victory and gotten 12th on the reverse grid. So he's making his way through, but the race is sort of gapped out slightly now, hasn't it? Really, this is the only close battle that we've got, which is Luke Cooper leading Lars Fisher, who leads Adam Delmont.
Let's have a look here. Luke Cooper under pressure from Lars Fisher, allowing Adam McNally to streak away, but huge credit to Wayne Douglas. He's staying ahead for so long, but have I just cursed and there's a lot of tyre smoke? Oh. And I have Wayne Douglas. No! Oh, that is a vicious curse of the commentator that strikes in an instant on Wayne Douglas. I think Luke Cooper gets caught up in that as well.
Yeah, well, but
I think I need to shut my mouth because that was I said off air when we had Andy McEwen join us after, I believe it was after Laguna's Seca, the first round of the championship, that I've got one of the fiercest curses of the commentator, and I think we've just seen it in full effect tonight.
Yeah, so we could see him going down towards the chicane now, and you can see about now is when Ed May starts talking about him, and he touches the grass on the outside, gives a little bit of a spin. Now, that's just. I mean, he is on the racing line, isn't he? I was going to say it's painfully unlucky, but if you just look at it as a still, that's unfortunate. And I'm going to see was it Luke Cooper who was flying in towards him. I'm going to go on board with Luke Cooper now. There is the yellow car in the distance. A big puff of smoke, and this is a terrifying perspective as a driver. He's on the racing line. You got nowhere to go.
I mean, I don't think Douglas moves that much when the car comes to a standstill. I think he does pretty much everything right. So
you're just unlucky sometimes, aren't you?
More down rather to Luke Cooper not slowing down enough and not taking evasive action.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think if you saw it from that original TV angle, actually we've not got much going on right now, so we'll have another quick glance at it. But if you have a look at the TV angle, you can see Luke Cooper, I think, panics almost. He misses one of the apexes. Let's have a look at it. I think he goes, he screws the corner up, doesn't he? And that's because he's focusing on looking at Wayne Douglas rather than trying to avoid him. Which is weird.
If this was full metal racing rather than sim racing, that would be looked very poorly. I think not slowing down for yellow flags there.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And as we saw on his onboard, you can see it as well. You can see Wayne Douglas even starting the spin, let alone at the end of it. So yeah, you're probably right actually. And maybe don't know whether the Stewards will take that into consideration, but yeah, for sure that's a very scary position to be in, especially if you Wayne Douglas, to be honest. Because as you say, if you win full metal racing, that is terrifying.
Very, very scary stuff. But further in front, Adam McNally ahead of Jason Cooper, but that gap is coming down lap on lap. Jason last time by took around about 0.4 of a second out of Adam McNally's lead. Now with well over about 7 minutes to go in this race, he'll catch Adam, but will he be able to pass him? He could make it. He's currently 2 for 2 as Jason. We know how quick he is around here. It seems to be a circuit he's really at home with. Will he be able to make it 3 from 3 and be on track for a Grand Slam?
Ooh, sorry, yeah.
His brother there. Well, if one Cooper's having a great time, the other's not.
He's trying to go to the exhibition centre there, isn't he? I'm pretty sure. It's, yeah, Luke Cooper. Interesting way of parking his car and trying to get out of Donington. But to be fair, I've been out of Donington, trying to get out of Donington Park when it's really busy. Oh, Adam McNally with the big slide as we come back live to live shots of him. And, yeah,
he's losing a lot of time here.
Yeah, that's not
He's feeling
the way.
The pressure.
Yeah, that's not the way you want to stay ahead, is it? And I can't remember how many seconds you said it was before. He gained 0.4 on that previous lap. But as they come across the line, I think it's going to be more like a second, isn't it?
It could be more than that, to be honest with you. This has been a scrappy lap from Adam. He's felt the pressure too much. Let's just look for context. This last lap was a 44.83. A 144. Mind. So 144.83. As he comes across the line now, we'll probably see a 45.76, nearly a second slower. Meanwhile, Jason Cooper is continuing to put in those times, and that is, well, 1.3 seconds quicker, Jason Cooper from Adam McNally. That is a lot of time differential, and now that he's in the slipstream, Jason will be, I would imagine, right up Adam's rear bumper as they come across the line for the next lap, you would imagine. Yeah, if not before then.
Yeah, I was going to say 1.3 seconds gained. If we're going on their best lap times, then it'll be 0.4. That means he'll be within 2 or 3 tenths of a second of McNally, as you said, by the end of this particular lap. But if Adam is feeling the pressure like that when he's more than 2.5 seconds away, imagine what he feels like now. He's 0.6, missing another apex there, getting the rear end loose again. And that's going to ruin his run all the way down now. And look, Max Edmondson just ahead of him. I'm sure McNally will be having flashbacks, even though Edmondson is a backmarker in this race. Hopefully, Edmondson does the right thing and moves swiftly in another direction. 0.4 of a second is now the gap. Again, maybe just taking a bit too much speed through the first apex, not able to compose himself for the second apex through the chicane. And now it's down to 0.3 of a second. This feels like it's inevitable at this rate, doesn't it?
It might well be. The rear tyres are struggling with Adam McNally, but we can see how close Jason Cooper is. And like you say, flashbacks as he sees Max Edmondson just up the road. But maybe Max is actually going to help out a little bit here, because Adam McNally is going to get a slipstream tow. He won't be so vulnerable into Redgate now. Even though Jason Cooper is 2 tenths back, he won't be able to get the best run imaginable in towards Redgate. And that will most likely allow Adam McNally to stay ahead here. If that wasn't for Max Edmondson, you have to imagine Adam McNally would have been eaten alive coming out of that final corner in towards Redgate.
Yes, even though it didn't look like McNally was that bothered about getting right into the tyre tracks of Max Edmondson there, doesn't he? Maybe he's just refusing to have help from Max out of principle for whatever reason, even if it is for a race victory against another driver. If Jason's not careful here as well, his teammate's going to be invited in, Juanji Lin.
Yeah.
And then we're charging Adam Delmont as well. So it could be 2 5-stars versus 2 Excite drivers for a race lead. Oh, Max Edmondson, I think he's going to have to get out of the way in a couple of minutes. Well, probably on the next straight, I'd say, Ed.
Yeah, for me, Juanji Lin is one of the unsung heroes of this race. Flying under the radar, but gaining 5 positions so far this race. Obviously, we expect Jason Cooper to charge up through the field. That's just how he works. That's just his pace. But for my money, Juanji Lin's had a really nice, smart race. But Adam McNally is going to be wishing that he had the ability to flash his headlights like you can in a GT car to tell Max Edmondson to get out of the way, and you would hopefully see, getting to the right-hand side and hopefully braking early to allow this pack through, which he does the right thing. Well done.
Yeah, there was a bit. Oh, it's
dear.
Jason Cooper. Well, to be fair, I think McNally went too wide. Juanji Lin has gotten through and taken the race lead. I think McNally went too deep, and then I think Jason Cooper just sort of slightly encouraged him. I think he probably went a little bit too deep as well, and there was no opportunity for a turn-in. As Jason Cooper looks and he makes contact with his teammate, Juanji Lin. They both end up going sideways, and Max Edmondson gets involved as well for whatever reason. Adam Delmont and Adam McNally, the Excite drivers, are 1 and 2 in this race. Ignore Max Edmondson. Hopefully they all will as well, and hopefully Max just slams the brakes on going into turn 1. No, he doesn't. He decides to try and fight for a position that he is a lap down, ladies and gentlemen. But he's not quite a lap down yet. He will be. He should be in a couple of seconds' time.
But we've got an Excite 1-2. So it doesn't really matter. I think, to be honest, these two drivers might be happy to let Max they might slow it down for this lap and just let him go away, and then they can scrap amongst themselves, because you can see the gap that Jason Cooper and Juanji Lin are back from around about 4 seconds. They could afford to give a bit of time. Now let's have a look at what goes on. Jason Cooper outbroke himself into the first hairpin, and into the second, I think he just goes a little bit too hot. And he sees a gap on the inside, but I don't know. It's a little bit opportunistic from that far back to go for it on Juanji Lin. Well, look here. No, he just actually goes far too hot. Again, Jason Cooper, rare mistakes coming through from the championship leader. He's seen both him and his teammates' races basically come undone. Now, though, Adam Delmont sees himself leading the race. Adam McNally's in second, but, well, Juanji Lin and Jason Cooper are starting to close back up again.
Yeah, well, Jason Cooper, remember, that's actually the second time this evening that Jason Cooper has actually hit Juanji Lin off, the first being in qualifying. Now, I'm not cooking pasta, I just like stirring the pot, if you get what I mean, Ed. And that's it. If anything, if that lights a fire in the belly of these 5-star teammates, then I'm all here for it, to be honest, because at some point, like we mentioned multiple times so far this evening, they need to start fighting for championship position. Juanji Lin is third in the championship. Jason Cooper's second as Max Edmondson. I don't know if that's just him diving out of the way or him going into the pits or whether he spat into the wall. I'm not entirely sure. But they get the white flag, and I think Max Edmondson... What's the Excite driver doing? Adam McNally.
Adam McNally's had an issue.
Okay. I would love to know. I would love to give you more information on that one. I can't believe that there was a slowdown penalty for Adam McNally there, because where's he going to get the slowdown?
Was it maybe from the chicane and he didn't serve it right afterwards?
It's half a lap behind, isn't it?
Well, I mean, you get about 30 seconds to serve it in, so maybe he goes through the chicane and then goes through those hairpins and then decides to serve it in towards the red gate. I'm really quite confused about what was going on there. Hopefully his teammate Adam Delmont will be able to shed some light when he comes into the comms box after winning this race.
There wasn't any... He's not letting the 5-star teammates back through, is there? There wasn't any shenanigans with them earlier on.
No, I mean, if there was any shenanigans, it was more of Jason Cooper going into the back of Delmont rather than anything else. So I am baffled, perplexed, bamboozled, and various other synonyms you can find for just being downright not having the foggiest for what's been going on there for Adam McNally. But what I do know for Adam Delmont is that he will round through the final corner and, barring a freak accident, will win the race. And I don't actually, now that I've said that, I'm worried because I did already jinx a race leader earlier on in the form of Wayne Douglas. It seems to be a little bit out of shape there as Adam Delmont comes out of the final bend and will greet the checkered flag to win the third race here at Donington Park.
Yeah, Juanji Lin comes home in second place. Jason Cooper in third, weaving about just behind. And then Adam McNally somehow in fourth place. And I would love to be able to show you what happens to Adam McNally. But I can't. Really, let's see if this sheds some light on it. So that's Adam McNally. He's just going very slowly. I don't want to commit the cardinal sin of broadcasting and just reverse it on your screen. So let's just try and rewind 15, another 20 seconds. This is Adam McNally going into the final corner. And I'm just going to see if there's anything. That's not track limits. Going through the final corner. Does he cut that? No. Does he go wide? No. Max Edmondson goes off for a crash or wander into the pit lane. Adam McNally, that is a confusing one, that isn't it, Ed? But as we said, maybe someone will shine some light on it, one of his teammates, at some point if we end up having a chat to them. Right, random number generator. Let's whack that up once again, not with the iRacing things on instead, but with the 6 to 14. Hit generate. And it's a full reverse grid, ladies and gentlemen, for race 4 of the evening. That's right, we're already on to the final race, final 15 minutes worth of action coming up for you in a couple of minutes' time. But before we get into that, we need to see who is actually on pole position, and that involves bringing up the race results for race number 3. Adam Delmont then took the victory, finally getting on the top step of the podium, with Juanji Lin coming in 2nd place, and Jason Cooper is 100% on the podiums, as well as Adam Delmont, to be fair. He is in 3rd. Adam McNally ended up in 4th, with Lars Fisher in 5th. Colin Sansom took the... pardon me. Colin Sansom took the AM class victory, and he ended up in 6th overall. Dan Skinner, the alone Pro-Am driver, was in 7th. Fiona Siddons was in 8th. 9th was Luke Cooper. Chris Dixon was in 10th. Max Edmondson is a non-scorer, which means, even though we have a 14 reverse grid, I've just realised there isn't 14 because Adam Fox has left us, unfortunately, it will be a top 10 reverse grid because you've got to be within 1 lap of the leader to be eligible for that reverse grid. So you can be 1 lap down, but you can't be 2 or more laps down. Max Edmondson, James Clark and Wayne Douglas are all 2 or more laps down. So unfortunately, those drivers don't score points and they are not eligible for the reverse grid. So it will be Chris Dixon on pole for what is still essentially a full reverse grid. Right. For the final time this evening, we're going to go to a very quick break.
Have a driver before we go to a break. We do have Adam Delmont, who will join us in the booth now. And Adam, congratulations on your race victory. It was a topsy-turvy evening and a topsy-turvy 3rd race that you somehow came out on top of. But there were so many things to talk about. Let's talk about first the elation and joy. You've got to be very pleased with that.
Do you know what? Yeah, I am. I was struggling a bit in that one. Race 1 and 2, I definitely felt like I had more pace, and I changed something just before race 3. And I just seemed to start dropping off a little bit, and then I don't know really what went on. But yeah, I somehow ended up in 1st, and I'll take it. I mean, it's a bit hollow, but I will take it.
Yeah, I mean, it works for you. It's got you a very well-deserved race victory, but what was going on there? Because it seems that you and your teammates, and then there's 2 5-star cars as well, you were just constantly sort of chopping and changing. And it was a bit like pandemonium out on track.
Yeah, it did get a bit. I mean, there was a back marker who... I don't know
Edmondson.
For what reason. Yeah, Max just decided he wanted to get involved in the fight between the front 4. Bits of contact here and there. And then when I cleared through it to the front, he was racing me down the straight. And I was trying to ask him over game chat just to please back out of it because he's a lap down. But I don't think my mic was working in game. So... I just backed off. I could see that obviously Jason and Lars had a running together or something had happened with them 2. I'm not quite sure. So I backed off. I didn't actually want to get involved with racing him after obviously seeing that carnage unfold in front of me. So, and then Adam went through, and I think, I don't know if him and Adam have had a fallout or something, but they were... I think Adam was just trying to keep me safe, like, you know, keep him busy so that I could at least just get away. I think. Because we're not sure what he was doing and why he would try to race us like that. None of us are quite sure. I don't even think Jason and Lynn will be aware of what were going on then either, I don't think.
No, that's fair enough. It talks to as well the beginning phase of the race, because it was quite fast and frenetic for you there as well. We were just looking at the start for the race for you and cars flying off everywhere. Just how difficult is it to keep your cool when you're starting a bit further back?
It's hard because you're always expecting some sort of moment, whether it be small or big. Obviously, you're struggling yourself a little bit trying to, you know, carry as much speed as you dare on the cold tyres without... It's just, I think a lot of it's luck, mate. I think, to be fair. You can back off and be prepared for it. But in those
Yeah.
times, if it happens at the last second in front of you, there is literally not a right lot you
Yeah,
can do.
and that's fair.
So
Well,
there is an element of luck in there, I think. But
hopefully
yeah,
you get luck in the next race, mate, because we will have to move over to the next one with a full reverse. You are starting further back, so you'll need to use all of your ability and crossing of the fingers, hopefully, to avoid getting caught up in the mix yet again. But best of luck for the fourth and final race. Before we say goodbye to you, anybody you'd like to shout out?
usual sponsors, teammates, and you guys for broadcast and everybody behind scenes. And yeah, let's get ready for a race 4. Let's have it.
Thank you very much, mate.
Good night, chaps.
Nice to have a chat
So,
to
yep.
Adam Delmont there, Ed, wasn't it? But you're absolutely right in your conclusion of that interview. We do need to jump into the next session. So we'll be back in a slightly shorter period of time now, probably only 2 or 3 minutes, so just enough time to go grab that last cup of tea. Well, it's that time, ladies and gentlemen, where I welcome you back to the BSR MX5 trophy for round 3 for the final time here at Donington Park. We've had 3 brilliant races so far. They've been heaped with drama and controversy to an extent. And we're going to be here for race number 4 as well, which we get the highest reverse grid of. Actually, no, it's not the highest reverse grid of the evening, just because those eligible weren't. We only had 10 drivers eligible for the reverse grid, which means we're on the top 10 situation. And well, Ed, I mean, we're all here for it, aren't we? We're excited for this one, even though it is the final one. Donington Park is giving us exactly what we expected.
Yeah, the final one, but it's a full one. The full reverse grid coming out for what should hopefully be a very exciting race. But most notably, Max Edmondson, an absentee, one of the most exciting drivers we've had this evening. Nobody coming into the pits in the 3rd race, and that was probably to call it a night, unfortunately. So we won't be seeing any more of him tonight, but hopefully we will see him next week at Virginia. Meanwhile, the car's lining up on the track. Jack, take us away.
Yeah, so Chris Dixon on pole position, the AM-class driver with Luke Cooper in 2nd. Fiona Siddons in 3rd with Dan Skinner in 4th. Colin Sampson rounds out the top 5 with Lars Fisher alongside him in 6th. Adam McNally is in 7th with Jason Cooper in 8th. Juanji Lin in 9th. Adam Delmont in 10th. And James Clark in 11th place. And it's not, well, for some reason, we're missing a few other drivers. It's not just Max Edmondson. We started the evening with 40. We had 13 in the last race. So that means we're missing Max Edmondson and one other. Do comment if you notice which one it is. But unfortunately, there is only 11 for this final race. But they have got engine notes. We've got drivers here. We're at Donington Park. And for the final time this night, Luke Cooper is starting from the pit lane by the looks of it. He's not taken to the grid for his front row start. But instead, Fiona Siddons, slots into that 2nd place. Dan Skinner and Colin Sampson. So it's Pro-Am, and Am leading the way. Well, it was for all of about 100 metres as Chris Dixon sends himself for a bit of a spin. Lars Fisher is hunting down the 2 semi-Am class drivers ahead of him. And you've got Colin Sampson just behind. So Lars Fisher, one of the favourites probably for this race now, in 3rd place. Dan Skinner just ahead, who can hold his own against some of the pros, but maybe not quite have the consistency as that he needs to actually be classified as a pro driver. Fiona Siddons just needs to focus on keeping it on the circuit and making sure it doesn't cause any incidents. And it looks like there's going to be a move across there. Lars Fisher slots up the inside and goes into 2nd place. Dan Skinner takes the race lead. However, how long he'll hold it against a charging 5-star, we're not entirely sure. In fact, he might only hold it for one corner, because around the outside, up the hill and into the blind apex, we have Lars Fisher trying to go round on the hard way, and it looks like he's just about not managing to do it. But remember, this is the GP layout, which means the chicane is going the left this time, which means Lars Fisher will have the inside line.
And he's going to have his nose just ahead from the drive out of Coppice and in towards the chicane. He goes and comes out ahead of Dan Skinner, crucially as well. That might throw us back in the works of Jason Cooper, who will be looking to try and get ahead, but Lars Fisher will look to streak away if at all possible. Meanwhile, there's a huge car park going on, and there's a tag around in the background. It's yet again teammates colliding. Fiona Siddons and I think Colin Sansom coming together for certainly not the first time tonight, let's put it that way.
No, unfortunately not. And as we said, there's been a little bit of controversy in the BSR MX5 tonight at Donington Park, and well, that's only continued. Not that we were expecting anything different, though.
No.
Is it, Ed? These reverse grids do often.
Never a quiet night.
No, it never is it? I mean, with 4 races, all 15 minutes, and they're all reverse grids. Oh no, all 3 of them are reverse grids. It's rare that you're gonna have a dull evening, full stop, isn't it? So yeah, a lot of these drivers. I think maybe Max Edmondson decided to give it the ghost after a lot of contact so far this evening, and decided that, you know what, I'm just going to take it slow. He's not in with the championship shout, really, because he joined in the 2nd week. He's going to come back stronger, hopefully, next week.
Hopefully so. Jason Cooper and Dan Skinner scrapping away, and then look at who's trying to get in the mix. Adam McNally's waiting in the wings, looking around the outside. And now to get the inside in towards Coppice, but backing out of it, being very sensible and cagey, I think, in this early stage of the race. Not wanting to throw a move and having it backfire on him. He's already been in the wars enough tonight and is probably hoping for a much cleaner affair.
Yeah, Juanji Lin is probably another driver that has similar ambitions on keeping it slightly cleaner, but he's fighting with now a race winner here, Adam Delmont, number 77. And we know Adam is quick. We know Juanji Lin is quick. Can they catch up to the drivers who are fighting ahead of them. Lars Fischer hasn't pulled away, really, from the chasing Jason Cooper. That's not entirely surprising. But will Lars Fischer hold on a little bit stronger this time, Ed? Because, of course, last race, they were very close to each other, just like they are now. And Lars Fischer practically jumped out of the way for the championship leader to go on through. But now this time, with Dan Skinner and Adam McNally just behind them, I would imagine the five-star teammates don't have that much time to play with. They're going to try a little bit harder to defend this one.
They are fighting, and I mean, we do have access to their Discord calls. Part of me wants to drag them in just quickly and tell them to fight. No team orders allowed. But of course, they are laser focused, and we don't want to disturb their concentration, so we'll leave them be. But hopefully, the message will get through from just us saying it out into the void, and they obviously can't hear us. But no team orders. Keep scrapping away. We want to see a fight for the lead. And I think we might get one. As Adam McNally is closing in, and there's his Excite teammate Dan Skinner getting slidey himself, and I think slotting in behind. That is the smarter thing to do. Now, McNally sees himself in the podium places and not too far back from the battling five-star cars.
Yeah, I think if Excite had a choice, really, though, they'd probably want Adam Delmont to be in third position right at this moment in time, because Delmont seems to be the quickest around here. Of the Excite drivers, taking a race victory, taking 2 podiums along with it. I think he's actually been on every single step of the podium, third, second, and first. And with Lars Fischer and Cooper so close, McNally just didn't seem to have the pace in that previous race, did he? Because he was in the lead, and he kept doing mistakes like this. Big drifting moment through the chicane. Adam McNally having to hold on to the car, but he doesn't hold on to the cars ahead of him. And that has given a nice little bit of a buffer, 0.7 of a second now, to the likes of Jason Cooper and Lars Fischer. And again, Adam McNally going wide on the apex of the Melbourne Loop. So it is really very much sort of struggling with the rear end of the car, isn't he, tonight, Adam McNally? I wonder if that's a setup for him personally, or whether he's driving the setup that Adam Delmont's prepared, or I'm not entirely sure, Ed, but whatever is happening, it's not working.
No, but sometimes you can try and they just don't work out. I want to see as well up and down the field about what we might follow from Juanji Lin, who's up 3 positions from the start of the race, in behind Adam Delmont. But ideally, those two don't want to be scrapping. You can see that Adam Delmont is the quickest car on track at the moment, with the fastest lap of the race so far. These two start scrapping, Lars Fischer and Jason Cooper, which, fingers crossed, they will give us a good fight for the final race of the evening. Who knows? We might have a very exciting final race.
You never know. They might just keep lapping with each other in this distance for the time being, because Jason, there was a gap up the inside there, but he's clearly communicated to Lars Fischer that he's not going to go for it until there's a big enough margin between himself and McNally in behind. It is difficult, though, when you're in the middle of a 3-way fight, isn't it, Ed? It's quite often the worst place to be honest, because if you make the move, or you try and make the move, and it doesn't come off, the person behind you will overtake you. If you do make the move and it does come off, you'll be so slow that the person who was in third, in theory, will end up going past you anyway. So really, McNally's in prime position right now, as long as he can keep the car facing in a straight line. Looked like there was a potential little cut there, as Jason Cooper looks to the inside, and yep, Adam McNally has cut the course. He's got the slowdown, and Lars Fischer, again, doesn't fight too hard. Jason Cooper showed his intention very early, and Lars Fischer, I wouldn't say jumped out the way, but didn't exactly fight it. So Dan Skinner's back up to third. Adam McNally is in fourth, with Adam Delmont, his teammate, in fifth position.
Yeah, and now Jason Cooper, we know how quick he is in clear air, just as quick following the car as he is up ahead. We'll imagine that he'll probably pull Lars Fischer along with him and try and break the toe from Dan Skinner, who, for my money, might be sort of a cork in the bottle type thing. And we've seen Adam McNally try and get past him. We're going to see probably Adam McNally try and come past him a second time. Maybe Adam Delmont as well. I think the fight will most likely be for third place, because those front two, you'd imagine with Jason Cooper up ahead, would break away.
Yeah, they've already got a second margin, haven't they? Thanks to the fact that McNally is now... Skinner is now in third. As McNally goes off the circuit yet again, he'll get another slowdown, because that is technically cutting the corner. And, yeah, it goes from bad to worse. I didn't actually catch the majority of that. I know we were on board with him. But...
It was weird. I was watching it myself, and I don't really... It was a weird one, Jack. I think we might be able to see it, because it should count on the view of someone leaving the track.
Yeah, but it will come up as that, but I'm just just holding off having a look because I have a feeling Juanji Lin is interested in Adam Delmont's position at the moment. So just going to see if this one develops into anything going into the Melbourne Loop, and if we haven't got anything but a start-finish straight, we will then shoot to a quick replay of that one. But looks like Delmont really on the edge. He's trying to push everything through the circuit, isn't he? And he's got his teammate Dan Skinner up ahead, who's going very defensive. In fact, I think he's actively getting out of the way. Maybe he's had a cut as well. Maybe he's had a slowdown as Juanji Lin opens the door. Crowbars are open almost. And through the Melbourne Loop, it looks like he's going to have third place secured away from Dan Skinner and Adam Delmont. So it's at the moment for about
Delmont's
100
got the
meters.
inside.
Yeah, 100 meters. It was a 5-star 1, 2, 3. But Delmont is not letting that one go easy.
Delmont actually got help in hand to hold that position from Adam McNally. Gave him a bump just to get that extra bit of drive out of the corner to bring him up into third place. But now they go 3 wide into Redgate. Oh my word, I thought Juanji Lin was going to come across the nose there of McNally. Juanji is going to get forced wide, and that might open the door for McNally coming down through the crane of curves. This pack is battling away, so we can't see what happened that lap before, but we don't want to. We want to keep following this fight, but in towards Old Hall, we've seen drivers come to blows and come across several times, but they give each other enough space. Excellent racing. Juanji Lin hangs on to 4th place, manages to withstand the assault from Adam McNally for a little while longer, but then McNally looking around the outside in towards McLean's. Then maybe the inside towards Coppice. No, not quite. Delmont now will look to reel in Cooper and Fisher, but that gap has extended massively. It's 4 seconds.
Wow, actually it is, isn't it? That is, I hadn't even noticed that, but you're right. It's pretty unassailable now, I would say, for the pace of the front two. With 5 minutes to go, especially as Lin shot. Oh, is that McNally going around the outside? That's surely never going to work. And of course, it didn't quite work. To be fair, quite impressed that they managed to hold it in a straight line, to be honest. Is McNally going to get a cut? No, but Dan Skinner is got an awful lot of pressure from the driver behind. McNally has to go to the outside. His teammate goes deep, and then Clark is up the inside, and then Skinner goes wide and almost comes back, and it's his teammate McNally. My days, they're going to have to try and figure this one out, and I'm not entirely sure how they're going to do it. We will. I am keeping an eye. I've got the highlight lined up. I want to play that Adam McNally cut track through Old Hairpin, but I just can't find the time, to be honest. Ed, this is far too interesting a race.
This is brilliant stuff. We're seeing a bit of a blink, though, aren't we, from Clark there in the background as he's joining this excellent scrap, you have to say. It was for 3rd place, but could be for 4th. And, well, there goes Adam McNally wide of the mark through Redgate. Delmont is starting to streak away, you have to say, from Juanji Lin. And, oh my word, what's going on there with McNally? Again, just massively sideways. There's something with that setup, how he likes the car, that's just, I think, far too tail happy.
Yeah, so we'll quickly look at Jason Cooper while I find what happened to Adam McNally all those laps ago now, going through exactly the same corner that we just saw. And is it just that his tail was too happy, or he just runs too much speed through it?
Go back onto the circuit and then decides, no, I'm going to cut the corner for some reason.
That is a strange one. We will have a look at that one again. Now, I thought at this point, oh, maybe he's lost it. Oh, no, maybe he's just ran wide. No, he can get back on the circuit.
He could return the circuit.
And then it just almost gets like he's getting sucked back over towards the inside and gets the slowdown. Yeah, that's... we've seen some strange things happening tonight, haven't we, Ed? And, well, I mean, that's why we love Donington Park, I suppose, isn't it? But that certainly didn't help him in that particular instance.
No, it definitely was not conducive to holding on to positions and getting the better of your opponents, but what is conducive to is a bit of drama, a bit of action, a bit of spice, which is what we love here on Jacko Racing in the BSR MX5 Trophy. Yes. Jason Cooper still leading the way and actually under a bit of pressure from Lars Fischer, so maybe we've seen team orders in the case of let Jason get ahead, build a gap, and now into the final sort of 2.5 minutes, gloves come off and they're allowed to race.
You're an optimistic man, Ed. That's what I like about you. But I'm not 100% sure. That last lap was a little bit quicker by Lars. He does have the added slipstream element helping him as well, of course, up the hill and across the start-finish line, down the back straight. Donington, like you mentioned, is very slipstream heavy, especially in these cars, which are basically bricks pushing their way through the air. They're not quite as bad as the likes of TCR cars, but they don't have no active aero. They don't make the air slippery or anything around them. They just punch a big, massive hole in there, and which allows a few of the drivers behind to sort of try and take some advantage of that if they're quick enough to do so, which quite a lot of drivers are taking advantage of that so far tonight, and that's why we've seen so much action and so many drivers be able to catch up to the cars ahead of them. So it's quite nice to see, but equally you just don't get the impression that these two are really fighting it out too much. And we don't have the points update over the course of the evening, unfortunately, anymore. But what I can tell you is that there was only 48 points going into this evening between Jason Cooper and Lars Fischer. And considering they've been 1 and 2 for a large majority of this one, Lars Fischer had an opportunity tonight, if he stayed ahead of his teammate and not jumping out the way, to close that gap. Not a significant margin, but potentially to below 40 points. And all of a sudden then, like I mentioned right at the start of this evening, you got a championship battle on your hand, Ed. But at the moment, he's just allowing Jason Cooper to pull away from him.
Yeah, which is
strange.
Not the best. Put it that way, it's not the best for what is a exciting championship fight, but of course we know that Lars Fischer is developing as a driver and getting quicker and quicker every time. He's probably using this as an opportunity to learn from Jason Cooper and take the lines and sort of figure out how he drives the car to then use that in his own abilities and his own way that he approaches these races. Juanji Lin, though, could be on for a bit of a fight in the dying moments on Adam Delmont for that podium place. We saw Juanji just drop back a touch from the Excite Racing driver, but now we are watching them close it back up, and Delmont could be facing considerable pressure as he makes his way through Coppice. Again, Juanji Lin getting a nice tighter line, but still carrying plenty of speed through. The car looks a little bit more planted here for Juanji, and as we come up towards the chicane, look at the lines that they're taking. Juanji is going to be able to carry a lot more speed by taking the wider line through, but has to get onto the brakes to avoid hitting the rear end of Adam Delmont. Might be a lunge in towards Melbourne if he fancies a move. If not, it'll be last chance saloon into the last corner. Look at the lateness of the brakes from Juanji, but it won't be enough as he slides the rear end out. We come to Jason Cooper, who will come out of the final corner to win 3 out of 4 races tonight. A stunning performance this evening from Jason.
Yeah, 100% on the podium. 3 wins, like you just mentioned. Lars Fischer, I think, has missed out on the podium once this evening. Adam Delmont has been on it all 4 times as well. So not quite the clean sweep for Jason, but certainly a good record. And Adam, I'm sure, will be pretty happy about that one as well, as he'll probably jump ahead of Andy McEwen, who we haven't mentioned tonight because he's not here. And potentially Juanji Lin as well, who hasn't had the best of evenings, even if that last race was pretty exciting for him. Adam McNally, who has spent more time off the road than he has on it, I believe, in this final race, suitably finishes off the road as well. And, well, it's, yeah, a night to forget potentially for him. Well done to him on finishing the evening, I would say, because it's, as I mentioned, not been the easiest for him. So that is pretty much all we have for this evening. We're just waiting for Chris Dixon to finish it off. Remember, Chris Dixon, I believe, was on pole position for this race. Didn't quite go his way. He ended up spinning off in the first corner, all on his own fruition. Absolutely no other outside help. But Chris, unfortunately, ending up in 10th place, which ironically is where he finished in the last race as well, actually. So nothing but consistent for our Chris. Right, we can go. We don't need the random number generator because we don't have the reverse grid. But of course, what we do have is this evening's final results. Jason Cooper took the victory by about 0.2 of a second ahead of Lars Fischer, his teammate, with Adam Delmont on the podium for Excite yet again. Juanji Lin was in 4th with Dan Skinner winning the Pro-Am. He was in 5th. James Clark was in 6th, and in the background you can see a Pro-Am flying off the circuit. James Clark was in 6th, as I said. Fiona Siddons took the Am class victory in 7th place with Colin Sampson in 8th. 9th, Adam McNally. Chris Dixon was in 10th, and Luke Cooper ended up 9 laps down. I don't believe Luke even took the start, unfortunately. So we only had 10 runners in that race at all. And Ed, I'm just wondering on whether you're going to tell me if we've got a driver in for a potential interview or not.
I am looking high, I am looking low, and I'm seeing that the answer is no.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we do not have any drivers coming through to have a chat with us, Jack, which is a bit of a shame. But of course, we know that Jason Cooper is a little bit comms box shy, a little bit voice shy, doesn't like coming in to have a chat with us. But actually, there are drivers coming through now that we've mentioned it. So, Jack, why don't you take us away with the post-race interviews?
Yeah, let's bring in Adam McNally, shall we, Ed, if you do me the honours.
Here we go. He's in.
Adam McNally. Now, I don't want to sound too harsh, but that was an interesting race from you right there.
I was bored.
Okay, then. Well, that's one way of putting it. How come you were so bored?
Well, I've just the car doesn't feel right. I'm understeering all the time, so I just thought I'd do some drifting.
Fair enough, then.
I had enough track space. I thought we might as well.
You did quite a lot of that drifting whilst you were in battles, though, as well, didn't you? I mean, going through old hairpins, certainly you had a couple of mishaps.
Oh, like I said, I'm just finding the car very snappy oversteer at the minute. 1 minute it'll be like loads of understeer, and then all of a sudden it's the total opposite. I mean, it's fun, don't get us wrong, I enjoy it, but it's not quick.
What is the deal with the setups, though? Because obviously you're in a team, aren't you, with Excite and the likes of Adam Delmont and Dan Skinner and other people. Do you do your own personal setups, or is it sort of you have a base team one that then you sort of fiddle around with?
I've had a setup that I've used for about 4 years.
Oh wow!
It's really never really been changed.
And but that's quite hard, isn't it? Because obviously every 13 weeks, iRacing likes to change the entire makeup of the car.
Yeah, but with them, sometimes if they get it where it's understeer, it's not very good. But when it's loose and oversteer, like, it's more enjoyable. But it's just trying to find that balance. Maybe do a few little tweaks here and there, see if we can work on it. But I mean, at the minute, especially with Edmondson in, it didn't really seem worth it.
I was going to say, what was your view on the other nights of racing? Because you had plenty of scraps with Edmondson and other drivers, didn't you?
Well, live, I'll not see what I think of them.
That's probably a wise decision. To be honest, we could guess in the commentary box probably what you were trying to.
Like I said, I had to go and apologise to Jason for race 3 because when he was throwing us up, coming to the hairpin, I was half expecting him to dive bombers and take us out of the race because we caught him up 6 seconds. We're in like 2 laps. And then he repeatedly sat in front of the field, and the race before, I mean, I don't even think he used his brakes. I think he thought he was on scale electrics with the barriers up. And like I said, what can you do when you're racing that? You try overtaking them clean, and 4 times he punts you off.
Well, I love the fact that you went into that question saying that you're not going to say what you think, and then decided to say what you think. It's nice to have an honest interview.
No, well, if that's not what he thinks, it's
No. That was a sugar-coated version of what I think.
Right. Well, we'll keep it there because obviously we don't want to turn people away from the BSR one.
No, definitely not. But I mean, if people are going to come in and drive like that, then do we really want them in? I mean, the rest of everyone else will know there's accidents. But when it's like deliberate pushing you off, deliberate sending in, yeah, it's.
Well,
of
course, we do.
I've never deliberately wrecked anyone in my life, but tonight I come close.
Well, as Ed was
we're glad that you didn't.
I know. I wouldn't.
Very glad.
But I could have.
And of course, the stewards. We do have, thankfully, a very good steward team. So I'm sure you'll be feeling vindicated after tonight. And if anything was done wrong, you should be in good stead to know that it was looked at.
Yeah, everyone else, mistakes happen, crashes happen. That's fine. People are at different speeds. Sometimes you come into a corner a bit too hot, where maybe your normal pace, but then the arm's going in 10 mile an hour slower. That catches you out. Sometimes you don't mind that. Like I said, you want to encourage new drivers to come to the practice sessions, even give them setups if they want. Don't mind. Just like I said, just race clean.
Well, fingers crossed, like I said, the stewards will help with that one, and I'm sure as everybody learns to race with each other, that'll get a bit nicer, because it is always hard to jump in to a new championship with brand new drivers and everything like that, isn't it? But fingers crossed, it will get a little bit cleaner. Is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out, Adam, before we let you go?
Yeah, just you guys doing the broadcast and everyone who does all the work behind the scenes, setting it up.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. You guys made it very entertaining, particularly yourself in that 4th race, Adam.
Right, thank you very much.
And that was Adam McNally, Ed, wasn't it? And I believe that's all we've really got time for, because it's about 20 past 10 now, isn't it? So we should probably think about wrapping this this broadcast up. But it's been an absolute pleasure. What's your final thoughts for this evening?
And, up and down topsy-turvy, been an evening full of drama, thrills, and plenty of spills. And we go to Virginia International Raceway next week, which is, well, just as narrow and just as up and down as Donington Park, really, if you've ever been there. So expect pretty much more of the same next week.
Yeah, absolutely. And if that should wet your whistle to subscribe, like, comment, or do whatever else you want to do. I mean, even if you have just sat there and silently judged us on our stewarding decisions that we picked our opinion on, and then by all means, thank you very much for tuning in. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host for this evening, and big thanks to Ed as well, obviously. It's been the BSR MX5 Trophy Round 3 here at Donington Park on Jacko Racing, and we'll see you next week. Potentially might not be me. I've just come to the realisation I think I'm in Athens. So I'm sure I'll be able to try and get another streamer, but you'll be able to find it on at least my YouTube page, if not the Facebook page as well. So yeah, again, thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.